General tips from the GDE, the Gauteng Department of Education. Now, grade 11s, using these tips, this is how markers mark. These are the guidelines that are given for a lot of the time. So using these guidelines when you're asking or answering your comprehension will definitely help you. So the first thing is that the candidate needs to be mindful of the mark allocation. Now, I know you're saying, duh, of course you have to be. Funny enough, this is one of the greatest mistakes learners make in an exam or in a test is actually writing too much or writing way too little for the mark allocation. So 2 marks means 1 idea with detail explaining, 3 marks means 2 ideas with some detail for one of the ideas, and then questions that focus on diction, tone, or style. Think about paper 2. You need to have relevant quotes from the resource when you are explaining the context of the passage. Then generic answers receive a single mark, if any, so do not lift, do not copy and paste from the text. Look out for your question verbs. You should know what each question verb is asking from you. And then you need to use the English jargon. You need to use things like diction, tone, style, image. If we're thinking about paper 1, you need to be able to tell me about advertising, jargon, and things like that. More tips about how to answer your questions. The first tip over here is to signpost. What does that mean? It means you need to tell the marker where you got your information from in the text. So it will help you break down the arguments and help your marker see what you are doing. So let's, for example, say you get a contrast or comparison question at the end of a comprehension where you need to compare between text A and text B. By writing there, text A is a simplistic form of, individualism. Then you say text B really incorporates how art is a part of the individual. By signposting, you're telling the marker you know what you're doing. Then the questions are in chronological order. Okay, so question 1.1 will deal probably with paragraph 1. Question 1.2 will deal with paragraph 1 as well. Then as you move on, the questions get harder and harder and harder. Then, if you're asked to quote, remember, you do need to quote, you need to use your inverted commas, but you should always explain the quote in your own words. Then, we have this lifting, the copy and pasting, or another word for it really, is plagiarism. And you will only be awarded 1 mark if it involves quotation marks. So if you've taken it directly from the text and you've quoted it, it's out of 3, you're only going to get 1 mark, okay? We do not expect you to write everything in your own words, but when you are quoting important elements, you need to explain them in your own words. We need to see that you understand the question clearly. Great. Grade 11s, here is an example paper. This is a National Senior Certificate paper for grade 11 for 2014, many years ago now. This was provided by the Province of the Eastern Cape Education. Now what I want to do is show you the memorandum. This is what your markers would get if you were doing a common paper or anything like that. This is the guidelines for the markers, and that is one of the things that I teach my learners the most, is one of the most important things, is understanding that there is a person behind your mark and almost creating your answers to be as easily understood as possible is very important. That is why we ask you to signpost. That is why we ask you to understand the questions that are being asked over here. By you answering in a clear and concise way, the marker is going to be in a better mood. All right, let's have a look at some of the marking guidelines, just some of the basic hints and tips over here. Maybe you haven't heard of these before. So, because the focus is on understanding, right? Incorrect spelling, language errors in response should not be penalized unless the errors change the meaning or the understanding of the sentence. So that's good news for a lot of you. If you do make a spelling error and it doesn't actually change the understanding of your sentence, a mark does not get deducted. Then, if a candidate uses words from a language other than the one being examined, disregard those words. So perhaps you've used a Zulu word or you've used an Afrikaans word. Those words just get ignored. You do not get penalized. But if a word from another language is used in a text and it requires the answer, it will be acceptable. Then for the open-ended questions, you will not get marks. No marks should be awarded for yes, no, or I agree, I disagree. Unfortunately, those days are over. You do need to be able to provide a reason, a substantiation, and a motivation to be able to get a 2 marks or 2 out of 2 for a question. Then there are no marks awarded for true, false, or fact and opinion. Once again, grade 11s, we want a reason, we want a substantiation, we want a motivation. Then, when there are one-word answers or if you're being asked a one-word answer, and the candidate gives a whole sentence, okay, so you accidentally write the whole sentence, and perhaps you had the brainwave of correcting, underlining, highlighting the word that they asked you for, we will be able to mark it right. So, for example, let's say they ask you a synonym for beautiful, and you write in your booklet, I think the girl is magnificent, and you decided to highlight magnificent. You will get the mark. Then, when 2, 3 fact points are required, and a range is given, mark only the first 2 or 3. So grade 11s, this is very important when you are creating your answers, when you are cultivating your answers. You need to understand that whatever you put for those first 2 points, we are only marking that. So for example, let's say I asked in a test, perhaps give me the reasons why children do not like studying. And you start off with children do not like studying because they like to be on their cell phones, they like to play outside. Then only after that you're saying people don't like to study or children don't like to study because of A, B, and C, and that's the real answer. I have to mark those first 2 answers. So be clear, concise in what you want to put forward in your answer. Then if you have multiple choice questions, which is not often in English, accept both the letter corresponding with the correct answer and or the answer written out in full. So if you said A matches with 1, you can write the numerical 1, or you can write the actual word 1. Now, we are going to have a look at, obviously, this paper. This is the question paper, not the memo, obviously. Over here, grade 11s, it is incredibly important to read your instructions, please. So incredibly important. So over here, this is for the marking purposes. Start each section on a new page. Rule off after each section. You need to number the answers correctly and according to the numbering system in the paper. So if there's an error in the paper, you use the incorrect numbering. Then they ask you to please leave a line after each question. This is also something that's very important because it helps us as markers. If you do not have lines in between your answers, it almost is all jumbled together, and it can be quite irritating to the eye and to a person's attitude when you do this. So you also need to pay special attention to spelling and sentence construction, and then you can use the following guidelines on how you need to answer this question paper. So question A, you need to use 50 minutes. Question B, you need to use 30 minutes. And question C, 40 minutes. And then just the general run, just to write neatly and legibly. Remember, if a marker cannot read your handwriting, they cannot give you the mark. In the next slide, I'm going to read the comprehension with you and start having a look at what those answers are looking at. Section A, Comprehension, Question 1, Reading for Meaning and Understanding. Now, I know you probably have ignored that in the last 4 years that you've been at high school, but this reading for meaning and understanding is very important, grade 11s. It's because we want you to critically engage with the questions. I don't just want a summary. I don't want you to regurgitate what's in this text. I want you to engage. I want you to critically think. Then they ask you to refer to text A and text B and then answer the set questions. Let's have a look at text A. Nando's, the popular and well-known brand in South Africa, has become one of the country's greatest international success stories. In 1987, an entrepreneur named Robert Broysen and his friend Fernando Durarte went to a Portuguese takeaway restaurant named Chickenland in Rossendale, southern Johannesburg. Broysen was so impressed with the restaurant's flame grilled chicken that he proposed the pair of them buy the restaurant, which they duly did. They renamed the restaurant Nando's, abbreviating Durate's first name. Within 2 years, Nando's had 3 outlets in Johannesburg and 1 in Portugal. Their growth and popularity continued, and today there are over 1,000 restaurants in 30 countries around the world, making Nando's South Africa's most successful restaurant group export. Their first 2 British branches opened in 1992 in Ailing and Earls Court, West London, serving mainly takeaway food. The business struggled at first and was on the verge of collapse when the chairman, Richard Edenhoven, handed it over to his son, Robert, who shifted the emphasis from takeaways to what is known as a mixed service model. Under the mixed service model, the way customers are encouraged to act is different and there's an element of responsibility. In that, you have to go to the counter to order, you have to help yourself to your own cutlery, soft drinks and sauces before the servers bring you your meal to your table. All this moving about helps to create a fluid, busy environment or atmosphere and an environment that customers enjoy spending time in. Edenhoven also came up with the idea of individualizing the design and decor of each outlet, thereby avoiding uniformly bland feeling of a chain restaurant. Nando's commissions its own artworks and runs a worldwide art project where artists from local communities are invited to interpret Nando's in their chosen local art form. The artist is then profiled along with their art, and the restaurant wall is transformed into a gallery showcasing their work. Nando's has the largest collection of South African art in the UK, with over 3,000 works displayed in their restaurants. Individualized store design and the mixed service model proved to be a highly successful formula. They occupy a particular place within the food service industry known as fast casual dining. A survey by the market research company NPD shows that restaurants in the fast casual sector have an average revisit intent of 69%. Nando's has a revisit intent of 80%. They serve everyone from happy families to workers at lunchtime and from groups of teenagers to dating couples. It's a safe place for teenagers to go on their own and is an astute marketing move. Nando's is relaxed about its teen appeal and even encourages it by offering free refills of soft drinks. Nando's sees its customers as its best brand advocates. They have carefully cultivated some clever branding elements and astutely reveal the famous names who pass through the restaurant's doors, including David Beckham and Jay-Z, on a blog on its Facebook page, which has 13 million followers. In 2010, Advertising Age magazine named Nando's as one of the world's top 30 hottest marketing brands. So, is the Nando's secret that it is more than just your usual takeaway place? Nando's professed unique selling point is that it's all about the family feel. It prides itself on its spicy chicken, and it does so seem that Nando's peri-peri sauce remains its basic selling point. But it's the friendly atmosphere, both for workers and clientele, that keeps its fans loyal. Customers know what they're getting, which is quick, friendly service, clean surfaces, big tables you can spread out over, unique art on the wall, and a different architectural style in each restaurant. But there is more to the brand. In a shrewd move, they have added something unique to their marketing campaigns, a dash of comedy, entertainment, and the ability to make people laugh. Nando's are well known for their adverts and have made use of witty, astute, and occasionally controversial marketing campaigns to promote themselves. They have built their brands to extend beyond food, and they use humor and political satire to create popular adverts which range from being hugely controversial to simply providing a good laugh. A Nando's adverts, as their satirical adverts, comments on social, cultural, and political issues in an offbeat manner. The combination of popularity, good food, and loyal customers promoting their brand on various social media platforms is certainly working well for Nando's, and they look to set to grow in a growth in an even bigger success story, with many more entertaining advertising campaigns along the way too. Alright, grade 11 is quite a lengthy comprehension. You will see over here in my timer that it took me about 6 minutes to read, so you can definitely do this in your reading time that you are given before an exam. Let's have a look at text B. Now, please do excuse me if I pronounce Nelson Mandela's, his middle name wrong. I'm trying. So it says over here, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the text as a whole, from one Rolihlahla to another. So to Nelson Mandela, whose middle name is Rolihlahla, means pulling the branch of a tree, or in other words, troublemaker. We'd like to thank you for teaching us that sometimes ruffling feathers is the most honourable thing one can do. From one fire starter to another, happy 94th birthday, Madiba. And obviously from Nando's. Now, let's have a look at the questions. I'm just going to read them through first, and I'm going to highlight what the question is asking. This is one of the most important things that you need to do, because this will guide you on how much you need to write. So, refer to paragraph 1, 1.1.1. Refer to the first sentence and clearly explain the difference between the words well-known and popular in the context for 2 marks. So what I do is I always highlight the mark allocation because you will know how many points to give and what is this actually asking us. So very importantly, we must look at paragraph 1, refer to the first sentence, okay, and you need to explain the difference between the words well-known and popular. And one of the key elements over here is in the context of this particular question, okay, in this particular comprehension. So let's have a look at the memo, just scrolling down. The answer over here is well known means that people know about it. Or when someone says Nando's, there is no need to explain what it is. Popular implies that it is well liked or sells well, for 2 marks over here. So you can see where we got the 2 marks, telling us what well-known is and then explaining what popular means too. Let's have a look at question 1.1.2. How did Nando's derive its name? Now, grade 11s, you may not know what the word derive means, okay, but that means how did Nando's create its name, okay, and that is for 1 mark over here. Let's pop onto the memo and have a look. So, we have this actually directly from the text, but remember you always need to put things into your own words. So it's an abbreviation of the first name of one of its founders, Ferdinand. All right, and that is for your 1 mark over there. You told me exactly what it is. Then, number 1.1.3, refer to the final sentence. How can a restaurant group be exported? Okay, so how? It's asking me the question, can a restaurant group be exported? And this is in inverted commas over here, taken directly from the text. Once again, 1 mark. We only need to give 1 point. So let's have a look. The concept, franchise, name, and style of the restaurant is set up in other countries. Okay, so if you said the restaurant name, the franchise, anything like that is set up in other countries, meaning it's like a little export, like the way that we export fruit in South Africa. And that is for 1 mark over there. I've made 1 point. I know that I am going to get the mark. Then, 1.2, refer to paragraph 2. This is very important. Why do you think the mixed service model has been so successful with customers, for 2 marks? So it's asking here, why do you think, meaning you need to put it in your own words, this mixed service model has been so successful with customers, for 2 marks. So you need to be able to make 2 points over here, grade 11s. Let's have a look at the memo. People like to take some responsibility for their meal and they enjoy being served and looked after. Okay, this is very important because here, let's have a look at the 2 marks. I address the fact that we want some responsibility, or the fact that someone's responsibility is given to our customers, that they need to be able to get their own sauces, their own soft drinks and things like that, but they also like to be served. Remember, you cannot take it directly from the text. Let's actually scroll up and have a look for it over here. So you cannot write verbatim the exact words that you have to go to the counter to order and help yourself with your own cutlery, soft drinks and sauces before servers bring you the meal. You need to be able to put this in your own words, and that's exactly what the memo did. That people like to take responsibility for their meals, but they also like to be served too. Then, let's go to 1.3. Refer to paragraph 3, once again, important. What do you think of the introduction of the worldwide art project, especially in the context of a fast food chain? Okay, there are 2 elements to this question over here. So, what do you think, okay, of the worldwide art project initially? And then what do you think of it in the context of a fast food chain restaurant, for 2 marks? Now, when we think of a fast food chain restaurant, we're thinking about McDonald's, KFC, even Chicken Licken. We do not associate art and fast food together. They're not synonymous. They're not things that we are like, oh, goodness me, I really thought I would be seeing the most beautiful artworks while I'm waiting for my Big Mac meal. No, this isn't something that usually happens. So you need to think to yourself and critically think over here, what is my opinion about the World Art Project, and what do I think about it being introduced into a fast food chain? So let's have a look. So it is very unusual, unexpected, or refreshing. Okay, one would not expect it to be displayed inside of a fast food outlet. Okay, and over here, the 2 marks, you've added what your opinion is about it over here, and then you've gone to add why it would be weird or different that it is actually given in a fast food chain restaurant. Then, refer to paragraph 4 only. Now, we don't always have this only, so that's very important over here. Then, you need to explain, or 1.4.1, clearly explain the concept of revisit intent. So what you need to do, you need to explain revisit intent for 2 marks. So you need to be able to give 2 points about what revisit intent means. All right, so let's have a look at what revisit intent is in the actual context of our comprehension over here. And that is one of the key elements over here, grade 11s, is to understand that you need to look at everything in context. So let me have a look. Here we have Nando's has a revisit intent of 80%, okay? Other fast food casual sector restaurants have a revisit intent of 69%. So let's think about what it means to revisit a place. You want to go there again, and intent is the action, the want to do something. So this question is asking you, account for, let's have a look one more time. Explain, account for the concept of a revisit intent. So let's have a look at the memo. It means that the customers will remember the outlet and they would be inclined to go back, okay? They intend or will definitely think about going back there. And that is my 2 marks. So they will remember the outlet, or they want to go back, and they intend or will go back eventually. All right, now let's look at 1.4.2. What is Nando's attitude towards its teenage customers? So what? Explain, describe Nando's attitude. What am I describing Nando's attitude to what? Its teenage customers for 2 marks. I need to make 2 points. Now remember, this is in paragraph 4. It's explaining how Nando's was very clever and very witty in the way that it thought about incorporating teens instead of trying to get them away, trying to scare them away. So let's have a look at the memo. 1.4.2, they encourage the teens to come. Why and how do they encourage them? They offer free cool drink refills, okay? And they also it's also a safe place for teenagers to stay without adults. And here I've executed the 2 marks. It encourages them, they give them free refills, and you could have even said that it provides a safe place for teenagers to relax. 1.5, refer to paragraph 5. How can you tell that Nando's is up to date with regards to its use of technology? Okay. How can you tell? So, in your own words, in your opinion, Nando's is up to date with technology. Okay, over here you have to give me 2 points. Remember, 2 sentences don't necessarily mean 2 points. Let's have a look at the memo. They use Facebook, which is now quite an outdated social media site, okay, and they have a blog letting friends and customers know what famous people have visited their outlets for 2 marks. Then, in your own words, this is in bold, this is capitalized, so grade 11s, you need to put it in your own words. Explain how Nando's has become one of the world's hottest marketing brands. So explain, tell me more how Nando's has become a hot marketing brand. This is directly from the text. And you need to give me 3 points for this. Okay, let's have a look in paragraph 5. Oh, excuse me, that's the memo. Let's have a look in paragraph 5. So it sees that Nando's sees its customers as its best brand advocates. This is one of the highlights over here. If we are looking further down into paragraph 5, customers know what they're getting, okay? When you know what to expect, you like something, we know that it's going to be quick. We know there's friendly services, clean services, big tables, and you can spread out. There's nice, unique art on the wall, and there's a different vibe, a different aesthetic in each restaurant. Okay, so let's have a look at how this answer was formulated in the memo. So, it has a great family appeal, very important. It's known for its unique food. The food is predictable, so you know what you're going to get. Okay, if something is predictable, it doesn't always mean bad. It can mean trustworthy too. Then there's always a friendly atmosphere to greet customers, and their service is excellent. Okay, and this is for 3 marks. You needed to put 3 different points. Then 1.6, refer to paragraph 6. Find a word in the paragraph which is a synonym for shrewd and write it down. Okay, so you had to look in this paragraph, very important. What is a synonym? A word that can be interchangeable, meaning the same thing, for shrewd. Okay, and write it down for 1 mark. So grade 11s, what does shrewd mean? It means clever. It means, actually, we will get the word over here. It means astute. It means to be clever and witty, to think things out. Okay, so over here we have astute. If you were unsure about that, let's have a look at the word in context of this particular paragraph. Let's go all the way up to paragraph 6, and particularly over here, Nando's are, so in a shrewd move, they have added something unique to their marketing campaigns, a dash of comedy. So shrewd can be replaced over here with the word astute, okay, meaning the same thing, being synonymous. Okay, let's move on. How and why does Nando's successfully incorporate humor into its marketing campaigns? This is a twofold question. So you're going to say, how do they do it? And why do they incorporate humor for 2 marks? So you're going to get the 1 mark for explaining how and explaining why. Let's have a look at the memo. So they use a clever use of language. Okay, they use satire to ridicule topical issues and even some controversy. Okay, and their humor is up to date and catchy. That is something that as human beings we enjoy. And here we go, 2 marks. You've explained how they do it. They use satire a lot, and why they do it, because it draws people in and creates controversy. Then 1.6.3, clearly explain the term go viral as used in this paragraph. So you need to clearly explain, it just means to explain, the term go viral for 1 mark. It means to spread incredibly quickly by electronic means, something on social media. You would answer this question very differently than what is here in the memo now in 2014, nearly 10 years ago. Then you need to refer to paragraph 7. Remember to remain within the means of the question. It says over here, the article ends with a positive statement from the author. Do you feel that this optimism is well-founded? Explain. So they make a statement over here saying that it ends with a positive statement. Then they are asking for your opinion. Do you feel that it is, or this optimism is well-founded? Is it necessary? Is it good? And then you need to explain why you say this for 2 marks. So let's have a look at the memo. You could have said, yes, okay. Nando's seems to have a very successful brand appeal. Their product is good, and they are equally known for their humor and art. 2 marks over here. So you're answering, yes, I do think the author should have a positive attitude towards Nando's. Why? Because it's a good product, it's a quality product, and then we also have that incorporation of humor. Then text B, which is our visual text. What is the connotation of fire starter in the words one fire starter to another for 2 marks? So let's have a look at connotation over here. So what does that mean? Connotation is the thoughts, the emotions behind a specific word, where denotation means the literal dictionary definition. So if you think of the word fire starter, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a good connotation to me. Can definitely sound like a negative connotation, maybe someone who's very mischievous. All right, and this is for 2 marks. So let's have a look at the adverts again. So over here it's saying to Nelson Mandela, whose middle name is Rodenklantla, means pulling the branches of a tree, or in other words, a troublemaker. We'd like to thank you for teaching us that sometimes ruffling feathers is the most honorable thing one can do. From one fire starter to another, happy 94th birthday, Madiba. All right, let's have a look what they've said in our memo. So if you were going to answer over here a troublemaker, okay, from text A, and a stirrer, you could have said in your own words over here. So it does not have a positive connotation. You could have said a troublemaker or a stirrer, or a mischievous person. Then, name 2 ways in which this adverb can be interpreted as opportunistic. Okay, name 2 ways in which this adverb can be opportunistic. So they used an opportune moment to make a advert out of something. Now, Nando's does this a lot, especially if we're having any type of political unrest in the country. Let's have a look at the memo. It's opportunistic as it's relying on the name of an icon like Nelson Mandela. By allying themselves towards him, they gain this mileage and attraction from the customers. Okay, by wishing him happy birthday, they want goodwill. They want to express goodwill. Okay, just think about it. If brands align themselves to models or to soccer players, they are trying to gain the good faith of people. They're trying to gain the attitude of people. Then let's look at the last question. This is a combination between text A and text B. So very, very important that you signpost at this point, because I need to understand that you know what I want from section A or text A and text B. So 1.10, Nando's sells food, primarily chicken. Do you think it is a wise tactic to make so little mention of this product. So they start off with a statement. So they sell primarily chicken. We know this. Then, do you think, so in your opinion, is it wise? Is it clever? Is it the right thing to do to make so little mention of the product, actually, for 3 marks? Let's have a look what the memo says. Yes. Okay, remember, you don't get your mark for yes. The product is so well known that it doesn't really need advertising. A similar product to this is Apple. Think about how many times you've seen adverts for Apple on TV. People expect this clever humor and or controversy. Though the product is advertised, we understand that the real product is Nando's itself. It's humor. It's witty comments. Okay, it's not always the chicken. It's kind of when something funny happens in South Africa or something very satirical, we go onto the internet looking for these adverts. What has Nando's had to say about it? So that is the end of your section A, your comprehension for 30 marks. I really hope that this exam preparation allowed you to understand how to answer the questions better, what questions are being asked and how they are being asked, and how a marker actually marks your paper.